Two men, two visions of the church, a single meeting. It is September 11th, 1976, in the rooms of Castel Gandolfo. That scene seemed buried in history, locked away in a drawer for over 40 years. But what happened a few days ago will send shivers down your spine. Because the words Paul VI spoke to Marcel Lefebvre in those 38 minutes are almost identical to those that are being heard today between Rome and the Society of St. Pius VI. By the end of this video, you'll understand why history here hasn't repeated itself. It has rhymed. Let's start with how this document came to light. In 2018, journalist Andrea Tornielli in La Stampa revealed a secret report. It comes from a book by Father Leonardo Sapienza, regent of the papal household, entitled La Barca di Paolo, Paul's Boat. Inside were 8 typewritten pages. They had been typed by Giovanni Benelli, then substitute of the Secretariat of State, and a future cardinal who was present at the meeting, along with the Pope's secretary, Don Pasquale Macci. It is the word-for-word account of a dramatic conversation. On one side, Paul VI, the Pope of the Council. On the other, Lefebvre, the bishop who had dared to challenge that council. To understand the weight of that moment, we must remember what had just happened. A few months earlier, Lefebvre had ordained priests without permission, and Rome had suspended him. He could no longer legitimately exercise his ministry. Yet the Pope received him anyway, and it wasn't the first time Paul VI had spoken about him. Just 10 days earlier, on September 1st, the Pope had dedicated public and painful words to Lefebvre, speaking openly about the painful affair of that bishop. Tensions were already high when the two found themselves face to face. Let's stop for a moment, because the tone of that conversation says it all. Lefebvre gets defensive. He justifies himself. The journalist distorted his words, he says, and he's not being judged as he should be. But Paolo VI doesn't agree. And here come the sentences that make your blood run cold. Has he realized the scandal and the harm he has done to the church? Asked the Pope. Is he aware of it? And then, even more directly, diagnose the situation, examine your conscience, and ask yourself before God, what should I do? There's more. According to the minutes, Paul VI goes so far as to accuse Lefebvre of behaving almost like an anti-pope, of effectively erecting a magisterium parallel to that of the legitimate pope. Lefebvre, for his part, tries to dismantle the image the newspapers had painted of him. Your Holiness, he says essentially, I am not the leader of the traditionalists. The meeting ended with a promise. Paul VI said he would reflect on Lefebvre's words. But the rift, as we know, was not healed. And in the following days, something revealing happened. Lefebvre, returning to Écon, told his seminarians his version of the meeting. 2 accounts of the same conversation, Benelli's official account and Lefebvre's account to his followers. Think about it. The exact same conversation, 2 opposing truths. For Rome, a patient pope facing a rebel. For Écon, a faithful bishop misunderstood by his own pope. It is the root of everything that would come after. Even then, in short, 2 churches were looking at the exact same event and seeing opposite things. Keep this in mind because it's the key to understanding today. Now let's go back a few days and brace yourself because the parallel is striking. On June 16th, 2026, from Castel Gandolfo, the same place as in 1976, Leo XIV speaks of the Society of St. Pius X. We invited them, he says. I'm considering another appeal. Don't do it. let's try to live in communion. And he adds, they reject some of the points of the Second Vatican Council. If they make this choice, I'm sorry, but we have to move forward. Look at the parallels, point by point. Same place, Castel Gandolfo. Same underlying accusation. You reject the council. You're separating yourselves. The same heartfelt appeal not to consummate the rupture. And the same identical stakes, 4 episcopal consecrations without the Pope's mandate. In 1988, Lefebvre consecrated 4 bishops and was excommunicated. Today, July 1st, the Society is about to consecrate 4 more. The same number, the same gesture, the same threat of excommunication. And as in 1976, today too, there is a war of narratives. Rome speaks of a schism. The Society speaks of a state of necessity. The same facts, 2 irreconcilable interpretations, just as between Benelli and Lefebvre. And there's another thread that links the 2 eras. Then, as now, what was at stake was not a simple question of discipline, but 2 opposing visions of the Second Vatican Council, a break with, or continuity with, the perennial tradition. History, as we know, doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, and rarely has it rhymed so perfectly. And here comes the uncomfortable question. If the script is the same as in 1976, how will it end this time? Because Benelli's statement teaches us something valuable. Even then, the 2 men didn't understand each other, not because they spoke different languages, but because they started from different perspectives on the Church. For Paul VI, the point was obedience. One does not criticize a council, one does not disobey the Pope, one does not set oneself up as a judge of the magisterium. For Lefebvre, the point was fidelity, to the doctrine of all time, to previous popes, to a mass and a catechism that he felt were threatened. And it is here that history reveals its true nature. Those 2 planes, obedience and fidelity to tradition, clashed in 1976 without finding a synthesis. And today, they clash again, identically. So the real question, the one I promised you at the beginning, is this: will Leo XIV be a new Paul VI? That is, a pope who, faced with a fracture, chooses firmness and lets the rupture fester? Or will he be able to do something that Paul VI didn't? Because there's a third character in this story who changed the ending: Benedict XV. In 2009, 21 years after the excommunications, Benedict XVI revoked them from the 4 Lefebvrian bishops. One pope had closed, another pope had reopened, and he had done more, already 2 years earlier. In 2007, with the document Summorum Pontificum, Benedict XV had liberated the ancient Mass, recognizing that it had never been abrogated. A pope had reached out precisely to the point that Lefebvre held most dear: the liturgy. It demonstrates that in the Church, even doors that seem closed forever can be opened again. History is not a condemnation, it is a warning, and at the same time, a hope. So what does that report from 1976, found after 40 years, teach us? It teaches us that the Church's crises are resolved neither by discipline alone, nor by protest alone. They are resolved when someone, on one side or the other, has the courage to undertake the examination of conscience that Paul VI asked of Lefebvre, and to do so before God, not before the newspapers. Faced with all this, the faithful need not choose between love for the Pope and love for tradition, because the Church, when she is truly herself, has never separated them. 50 years ago, a pope and an archbishop couldn't keep them together. The question history presents to us today is whether we can. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.